Chapter 8. "Wait here," the doctor murmured, tongue flicking across his suddenly dry lips as he gave a nervous little chuckle, patting Picard on the back. "Don't get too close to it under any circumstances. I know your people have discovered it before, but you'd be as well be better off standing in a pool of petrol as you might get close to that thing. Understand?" When the captain of the Enterprise nodded, albeit reluctantly, the doctor gave a brief, approving smile. With a deep, shuddering breath, the Time Lord seemed to draw upon some inner reserve of nerve, a confident swagger settling into his stance as he sauntered up to the Guardian, trying his best to look directly at it without flinching. "There you are," the doctor drawled. "Do you know who I am?" "Yes," the Guardian replied, the voice unconcerned, uncaring. "Time Lord, Doctor, but displaced. A stranger to this place." "Smart as a whip you are," the doctor replied, but a lot of his bravado seemed subdued. "You know why I'm here, then?" "Yes. The Time Lord seeks the key, the knowing, the window." "You did it once before for my people a long time ago, but a long time from now," the doctor replied. "You probably did it for the Time Lords of this reality as well." "I have done it for all the Time Lords, in all realities." "Wonderful! Loads of practice, then. Can you do it to me? Can you do it for me, then? Now, give me the key." "The displaced doctor should not pursue this course. The displaced doctor may return to his own reality through the arch." The arch shimmered, and just like that, images began to fit across it, faster and faster. Cardiff, a Dalek battle saucer, Unit, the interior of Torchwood, countless places and peoples and events from his own universe forming such a tantalizing lure. But despite himself, the doctor actually edged another step closer, but something deep, something loud protested deep in his own hearts, stopping him in place, glancing over his shoulder to consider his blue box. "And my TARDIS?" The doctor's eyes narrowed just a little as he turned back to the Guardian. "Can I bring her through as well?" "The TARDIS is incompatible with the arch. It cannot pass through." Despite his own unease, the doctor's lips twisted into scorn. "No deal." "The displaced doctor should reconsider." "Why?" His breathing was growing increasingly ragged, as if the fight-or-flight instinct was pulling at him. "Why'd you want me to leave this reality?" "A kindness from a fellow being of time." The Guardian seemed to almost hesitate before continuing. "If the displaced doctor does not depart, the displaced doctor will seek answers all on his own. The displaced doctor will find these answers. The displaced doctor will wish he had not." "Answers? Answers to what?" The doctor's jaw clenched. "To the differences in this reality? Can you tell me what happened to make history progress so differently?" There was a long pause as the arch hummed, seemingly almost to process the request. When it finally spoke, its tone seemed almost regretful. "Such a revelation is beyond the scope of my gaze," came the sonorous reply. "I display that which is. I display not that which has been." "What?" The doctor blinked, glancing at Picard before turning his attention back to the Guardian. "Of course you do. You've displayed the past before. According to the stories, you won't shut up about it, so—" "I display that which is. I display not that which has been." Right, the doctor lifted his hands. "Whatever, say. Whatever you say. Whatever that means. How about the key, at least? Can you give my TARDIS what she needs to function properly?" "The key is always present. The arch will display. The TARDIS will learn. The displaced doctor will leave." "More than happy to," the doctor muttered, turning away and moving back towards the TARDIS. His entire body was tense, as if expecting that he was going to be shot from behind. "Well, get us started, then." The grinding of the time rotor mingled with the low hum of the Guardian's arch as the two structures engaged in some mysterious communication. Images did seem to flash in the arch once more, but things were far, far more rapid than any human, any Time Lord, or even android eyes could keep track of, as with dizzying speed the Guardian imparted information on well, everything. Seated on a rock about halfway between the two temporal entities, Picard and the Doctor had both been silent the entire time. Picard because he was absolutely fascinated by the flickering images, his attention fully focused on it, as if he was hoping to catch a glimpse of, well, anything. The Time Lord, on the other hand, didn't seem to be looking at anything at all, his head bowed, eyes unfocused, every line on his face suggesting grim discomfort. Eventually, the captain noticed it, a bit of concern crossing his face. "Are you all right?" Picard finally asked, startling the Time Lord from his near trance. No, the reply was unusually sharp, the Doctor's head shrinking just at once in emphatic denial. "I'd rather do anything than come here, than face that thing. My people are not enamored with it. There are stories and legends about this structure, though no Time Lord has ever dared approach it in countless eons. Believe me, when a race of fearful legends has its own fearful legends, well, it's something to be paid heed to. In later years, it became even forbidden to tell such stories about this structure, to speak it aloud. The name we gave it was stricken from all histories, removed from our own timeline, buried." The Guardian's hum grew slightly louder, and the Time Lord reflexively jumped and glanced at it, only to wince and turn his head again away, looking almost ill. "You keep averting your eyes," Picard noted. "Is there any reason for that?" "Well, it's just uncomfortable for me to look at," he explained tersely. "Uncomfortable for any species with a strong sense of linear time's passage to look at. It's a fixed point, you see. Not just in time, but in everything. It has always existed, the same object, unchanging, as well as its world that it sits on. It even exists in times where no other planets have existed, no other speck of matter. It exists in all dimensions, not as a counterpart like you and I, but as the same object, the same gate. In theory, if one were to find it and destroy it, and I couldn't even begin to guess how, then it would cease to exist in every reality, every moment in time, and the changes to the time stream would be, well, catastrophic. The Time Lords discovered it quite by accident, drawn by the temporal distortions it admits. They were young. The ability to time travel, though, was only a recent development, raw and rough through crude TARDISes, facilitated by exposure to the untempered schism. They could only travel a few hundred years in any direction, but still relied on conventional space travel to explore the universe beyond our known borders. We were the first, the first to master time. So we thought. Imagine the blow to their overweening pride when they encountered this structure on a world older than any they have ever seen, older than the sun had orbited. The structure was a mystery they could not resist, and they were determined to learn of its origins. They built a mighty city around it, confident they would learn its secrets. A TARDIS was enhanced by it, made it into a vessel capable of traveling to virtually any point in space and time, and with it, they intended to find out those who constructed this monument to time itself. They traveled back 1,000 years, it was still there. They traveled back 10,000 years, it was still there. 100,000, 1,000,000, 1,billion. They each jump. There were fewer species, fewer star systems, fewer galaxies, until they finally came to a great void in the very beginning of all creation. This void, this time, where they were truly alone in the universe. And it was still there. Still old. That must have been quite a shock to them, Picard noted, rather understanding it. It terrified them, the Doctor confirmed grimly, to find something that they had no mastery over, no knowledge of. Oh, they fled from this world, abandoned the city, retreated from this structure en masse, running from it as fast as they could. They returned to Gallifrey, my homeworld, and vowed never to speak of it again. After all, they had taken what they needed from it. That would explain the ancient city that is said to have surrounded the structure, Picard replied pensively. But why are we here? What are you seeking to gain from it? Giving the Guardian another brief glance, the Doctor pointedly turned away from it, facing the captain squarely as he once more held up his hands to make entirely useless gestures to accompany his words. Like your transporter, coordinates are needed to travel through space and time. If you want to have any control over where you're going, knowledge of where the planets are at each moment in time. lack of such knowledge is what restricted Time Lords in the first early days of time travel. The doctor gestured vauntily to the thumbing Guardian. That is how this structure enhanced the first TARDIS, imbued her with incalculable knowledge how every planet moved, how every civilization developed, a knowledge that the first TARDIS then passed down to every subsequent generation, mine included. That knowledge, a TARDIS could go anywhere, at any moment in time, without fear that it would materialize in the middle of a sun or next to a black hole. With that knowledge, a TARDIS became like the Guardian itself, an object beyond space and time. But like the power systems, then that knowledge applies to your universe alone, Picard replied slowly, nodding as he began to more or less understand what the doctor was saying. And now you've come here to update your navigation, as it were. But how is it that you knew the coordinates to arrive here? As I said, the doctor replied grimly, this Guardian is a fixed point. It exists in the same coordinates at every moment. Quite literally, it is the only location that remains constant throughout the multiverse. You see why it's so bloody unnerving? Truly the immovable object. All roads lead to it. In any case, once the Guardian has uploaded its knowledge to the TARDIS's database, she'll be able to get around like normal. And how long will that take? Picard asked. Can't be sure. The doctor replied. Could be days. Could be weeks. The cloister bell sounded. Could be now! Leaping to his feet, the doctor ushered the captain back into the TARDIS and slammed the doors shut gratefully, letting out a long sigh of relief as the Guardian was out of sight. Scurrying to the consoles, he quickly called up information on the monitor. Ah, perfect, everything I need. Down to the coordinates of your ships, every movement from it was built to when it time to bring you back home, Captain. The drama of my disappearance should have settled down after a week, so we'll swing by, drop you off, and we'll be gone again before even Data can say a word. Are you sure that's wise? Captain Picard asked, and when the doctor cast a surprising glance at him, the captain cleared his throat. This universe is quite unfamiliar to you. Perhaps I could be a bit of a help. I'm quite touched, Captain, the doctor replied, a small smile tugging at the corner of his lips. But you've already done enough for me for now. You need to tend to your crew in the coming months. There are going to be quite a few challenges in your path. Besides, where I'm going, well, let's just say it's going to be tricky enough without tossing in another unstable temporal element like you into the mix. I'll be back, though, don't worry. Where do you intend to go? Picard asked, his brow furrowing. Well, for one thing, I need more information on transdimensional travel, the doctor mused, sighing as he considered the readout. It's one of the few things the Time Lords didn't muddle about with too much, which left a decided lack of information. However, fortunately, there do seem to be some first-hand incidents I can look into. At least some answers would seem to lie aboard the USS Enterprise. Picard frowned a little bit, held tilting. Aboard the Enterprise? I can't recall of an incident that would prove much of use. Transdimensional travel? Dear Captain, the doctor replied, a hint of a smile crooking onto the corner of his mouth as he began to mark a new set of coordinates. I never said your Enterprise.